Shalom. Parashat Vayeichi comes to close the book of Bereshit, and we close the book of Bereshit with blessings, as Yaakov blesses his sons to become the heads of the tribes of Israel. He blesses his sons, and he also blesses his grandsons, two of his grandsons, as he blesses the sons of Yosef. And we assume that he blesses the sons of Yosef and adopts them in a way to become as his own sons, because they are the sons of an Egyptian woman, Osnat. Yet the Pirke de Rabbi Eliezer, the Midrash, tells us that Osnat is everything but a stranger. According to the Midrash, Osnat is none other than the daughter of Dinah, whom she conceived after her rape, and that Yaakov himself had saved her life by sending her to Egypt, all the while making sure that she would retain her very own distinct identity by giving her a golden necklace with her name written upon it. And I want to suggest that this reading by the Midrash may go against one of the founding ethical principles, both a biblical principle and also a wider Western ethical principle now, which is the prohibition of incest. The prohibition of incest, and more broadly, the obligation of exogamy, which basically is the gesture of going to find a wife outside of the in-group, is, according to the French anthropologist Claude Levi Strauss, one of the founding threats of culture. And Claude Levi Strauss, from the perspective of structural anthropology, defines culture as the gesture of going beyond nature. And this gesture of going beyond nature, I want to suggest that we can see it literally in our parasha, in this gesture of Yaakov crossing his arms to bless Ephraim, the second-born, before and instead of Menashe, the eldest, as nature, the natural order of things, would suggest. And this is a pattern that we see all throughout Bereshit, right? But at every generation, starting with Cain and Hevel, and then Ishmael and Yitzchak, and then Yaakov and Esav, obviously, and then here with Ephraim and Menashe, this gesture repeatedly comes to tell us something that I want to suggest is not about saying that the youngest or the second-born has more merit than the firstborn. I just want to suggest that if we take this on another level, on the level of structural anthropology and cultural discourse, that we may see this as the gesture of founding culture by saying we're going beyond the natural order of things, as simply as that. And this gesture of creating culture can be seen really as a foundational gesture of creating Judaism as a culture and as a society. And we can see this in the body of men, because the covenant is inscribed in men's flesh through circumcision, right? Thereby creating, in a way, a cultural body. And so here we close the book of Bereshit with what can be seen as an affirmation of culture and the beginning now of the Israelite culture and society. And throughout the later books of the Chumash, we will see how this culture and this society keeps constructing rules, right? Its own cultural rules. So rules around food, and rules around sexuality, and rules around death and relationships, and et cetera, and et cetera. All these rules having in common, in a way, to invite us to go beyond our instincts, to go beyond our natural instincts, one of which being ethnocentrism, which is a natural instinct, right? And I want to suggest that we may see in the very presence of Osnat, right, an Egyptian woman, and then Sipporah, later on the wife of Moshe, who is a Midianite, and even later on the presence of Ruth, who is a Moabite, an invitation also to remember maybe going beyond ethnocentrism, and that this type of exogamy and this type of opening towards otherness, as Claude Levi Strauss reminds us, is also part of the vitality of each culture, of each and every culture. And then the whole question is how do we set the boundaries? And that's another question that the following books and then the Talmud are occupying themselves with. But as we close the book of Bereshit, this is the invitation I want to extend to us, is to really see ourselves part of a culture, and to follow the invitation of this culture to go beyond our instincts, and to to co-create together continuously an ethical culture and an ethical society. Shabbat Shalom.